Right, the first ODI between India and Australia in Perth just got over. It was a rain-shortened game, but eventually Australia winning by a massive margin of 7 wickets with 29 balls to spare. Joining us to analyze that particular match for us is Mr. Sunil Gavaskar. Saibhai, the first question and the obvious question, not an ideal return for Roko. They're coming back and wearing India colours after a huge gap of 200 plus days. Didn't quite pan out the way that you would want these two legends to play.
Yes, but again, they were playing on a pitch which is probably the bounciest pitch in Australia. So it was not going to be easy if you have not had any international cricket for a couple of months under your belt. It wasn't easy for the Shubman Gills, the Shreyas, Iyers, and the other batters too, who have been playing international cricket quite regularly for some time now. So that is how it was. It isn't just the two of them, but the rest of the batters also were unable to really cope with the bouncing ball. Maybe KL Rahul could have been after the first couple of wickets. Maybe he could have gone in a little bit earlier. But that is, I think, what I feel. But I wouldn't be too hard on both these great players. No.
Absolutely right, Saima. It's only the first game, of course. They're also coming back after a long time. I'm going to talk about, let's say, Virat in particular. Did you feel in that short stay that he had, 8-ball stay, a little bit more eager, a little bit more anxious? We know he's so good technically, but was trying to reach for the ball, wanted that first run, and probably that is what resulted in his dismissal?
Yes, I think every batter is somebody who wants to get off the mark very quickly, and then they tend to settle down just that little bit. And it's just one of those mental things for every batter. Nobody wants to get out for a duck. They want to get a single, and then their mind sort of settles down. And it is in that effort to look for that single that he reached out and was taken at backward point. But like I said again, sometimes the fact that you are playing on a pitch which you're not familiar with can cause even the best of players some problems.
That was actually my next question about Rohit Sharma. That delivery, was it just too good a ball? Would have gotten anyone out on that occasion? Or do you think it's that extra bounce? Had it not been something that you're not really familiar with, maybe Rohit would have dealt with it very differently?
Exactly. And the bowler, the most dangerous bowler was always going to be Josh Hazlewood at the start, because he's one of those hit-the-deck bowlers. He's not somebody who will pitch the ball up trying to get it to move. The white ball doesn't move anywhere as much, say maybe after half a dozen overs or so. And so he was always going to be the dangerous bowler to face when on a pitch like the one at the Wacker. So yes, I think you can see that Rohit Sharma was turned square with the bounce as well as the late outswing movement and out-seam movement, and there he was caught at second slip.
Okay, these two gentlemen apart, because also they're playing after a long time. They could be rusty as well and really not familiar with the conditions. But let's talk about the rest of the batting. Saima, as you mentioned, let's say, Shubman Gill, he's been playing non-stop cricket and has been in outstanding form. And we saw the rest also, let's say, Shreyas, Iyer also not really chipping in. So these are players that are still playing quite a lot of cricket, unlike, let's say, Virat Kohli or Rohit Sharma. What did that actually tell you? Maybe it would have been a good idea to have played a practice game or two. We've seen this in the past as well. There's hardly any time moving from one format to another, moving from one series to another. When you're up against a formidable side like Australia, maybe a good idea, play a few games better than doing those couple of practice sessions?
That is always a good idea, to be able to play some games, particularly for the batters when you go to Australia, and if you're going to be playing at Perth or in Brisbane, where there's a little more bounce than on the other Australian pitches. It's always a good idea for the batters to go. Also for the bowlers, who are not playing in the test matches, to go a little bit earlier and get their line and length right. Australian pitches are also hard, which means that for the bowlers, when they land, sometimes it can be jarring for the knee, for the back. So those are little things that could have been thought of. But when you saw both those dismissals, Shubman Gill and Shreyas Iyer, again, it was the bounce that did them in, because they're looking to play down the leg side, and they got the ball bouncing above their waist, and so therefore they were caught brilliantly by the wicketkeeper down the leg side.
So how is it that then eventually, I agree with you, tough conditions to bat on. We saw, in fact, the last ODI that was played here, same time last year, Pakistan, Australia. Australia were shot out for 140 batting first at the Optus Stadium. But how is it that Australia really chased it down? Do you think it was primarily because it was a good toss to win, or is it because of the rain interruptions that the Indian batting couldn't get really going? Or do you think it got slightly better to bat on in the second half? Or it's just, Australian batters far more comfortable in these conditions compared to the Indian batters? Why was there so much of a difference in how Australian batters approached this and how the Indian batters were batting?
Well, they're playing at home. So obviously they're used to the home conditions, home bounce, the pitch bounce, etc. So they're used to it. So they were anticipating it. So therefore, they were in a much better position, the batters, to play the Indian new ball bowlers. The Indian new ball bowlers also could have been maybe learned something from what length that Josh Hazlewood was bowling, and maybe that could have made the difference. But like I said, I think it's home conditions, and the Australian batters knew exactly what to expect. They've been playing limited overs cricket back home in Australia, and so they were pretty much prepared for that.
Okay, couple of things now, Sani bhai. It is the Indian batters, because of rain, and you can't really do anything about the rain, they had to really constantly readjust their total, or how they have to bat, or their approach to batting, right? It started off with 50 overs, became then 35 overs, then became 26. So that's a massive disadvantage anyway for the team that's batting first and it's raining. And on top of that, at the end of the innings that get over, India get 136, but the total is reduced to 135 because Duckworth-Lewis comes in. I don't understand how that adds up. The team batting first is already at a disadvantage, and you cut their runs.
Well, I don't think too many people understand that method, but it's been there for a long, long time because, there was an Indian who had come up with the Vijay Devan, who had come up with his method, which was when I was the chairman of the ICC cricket committee, I thought was a lot better because it actually made the things, pretty even for both the teams. But that's how it is. It is there now. And unless the BCCI, and the BCCI uses the VJD method in domestic cricket, domestic limited overs matches. I'm not too sure whether they're doing it now. Maybe that is something that, they need to look at, they need to push to see that, there is a little, both the teams feel that, when the rain interruption takes place, whatever target score will be given to you will be a lot fairer for both the teams.
So, this game eventually completely one-sided. I'd say it was a hammering in the end. Do you see India bounce back? Because conditions aren't going to be easy in Australia. No matter what venue you play in, this time of the year, it is very tough for the batters. You see India bounce back in this series?
Oh, yes. I think India is a very, very good team. India won the Champions Trophy about 4 or 5 months ago. So India is a very, very good team. No question about it. And don't be surprised if both Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli score big in the next 2 games. And they're coming back after a gap of a few months from international cricket. And the more they play, the more they practice now, spend a little more time in the nets, maybe getting some good throwdowns. Maybe the reserve bowlers bowling at them maybe from 20 yards instead of the 22 yards. Yeah. And they will be back amongst the runs. And once they're back amongst the runs, India's total will be, 300 plus.
Final question, Saima, before we let you go. India's 11, what did you make of that? No place for Kuldeep Yadav. He's been in very good form, even though, that form came in red ball cricket recently, but before that as well in Asia Cup. 3 all-rounders India is going in with. You're okay with that, or some place you can adjust a Kuldeep in?
But that's been the practice for the Indian team now for the last several months to lengthen the batting by having batters who can bowl a bit. So you've had, Washington Sundar and Nitish Reddy batting at 7 and 8 because they can contribute with the bat and in a limited overs competition come in and bowl a few overs. So that is the way they are going. Because limited overs is more, and particularly the 50 and 20 overs is more about not giving runs rather than looking to get wickets. So maybe that is the reason why the thinking is to lengthen the batting and maybe go with the specialist bowler shot.
Right. All right, we'll leave it at that. Mr. Gavaskar, thank you so much for joining us, putting into perspective that first ODI that Australia have won convincingly.